What's going on, good people? It's Iceberg here. Happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you're already up and at it, had an opportunity to get out in your garden, take a look, see if anything needs any special attention. Hopefully you have a garden. If you don't have a garden, what are you waiting for? Now is the time. You got to get that thing planted today. You are already into the season where you need that garden planted for these fall and winter crops to be ready for the fall and winter when you're ready to eat them. I told you yesterday, or it might have been the day before, I can't remember which day it was, that it's going to take, a good 4 to 5 months for a lot of this stuff to mature, be ready for you to eat. So you got to get it planted today to be ready to eat it in November or December. So what are you doing? Have you taken any of that action yet? I challenge you on Fridays to take the action. Today is Sunday. You got all day today to make it happen. You can get everything done in one day very easily. You saw, I haven't posted it yet, so you haven't saw. But yesterday I was working on another container out here in my garden. I'll actually show it to you here in a minute. I'll post a video where I built it and everything. I'm trying to get that out later today. If not, it'll be one day this week. But I built myself another container, basically another garden bed in my backyard area. I'll show it to you here in a second. But what have you been doing? Like I said, a garden bed is nothing more than a container that you can put some soil into. Once you build a container, a box, whatever that can hold some soil, put a seed in that soil, you got you a garden started. That's all it takes, but it takes that action. Today I want to talk to you about control. Some of the things that are in your control or not in your control. So if you've heard me talking before, you've heard me say there's only two things in this world that we control: our actions and our attitude. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe I can prove that to you in every single situation that you present. That the person, or you maybe even, are only in control of your own actions and your own attitude in that situation. You don't control anybody else's actions or attitude, not your kids, not your spouse, not your neighbors, not your parents, nobody. Only your own actions and attitude do you control. That's not to say you don't have a responsibility for some other people. Yes, you are responsible for some of the things your kids do if they're minors, but you do not control their actions, you do not control their attitude. So we're going to take that, we're going to talk about the garden, and we're going to flip it back around and talk about some life as well. So let's take a look at the garden and see what we got. So here's my garden. It looks, the same. If you've been following me, things look very similar as they have looked. And when we're talking about control in the garden, there's only certain things that I control. I don't control a lot of the stuff happening out here. A lot of the stuff that happens out here in the garden happens because nature controls it, because of the way the actual plants grow, because of insects, other diseases, stuff like that. I don't control any of those things. I can come in and do things to supplement, or I can kind of do things to maybe deter, but I cannot control anything. I can supplement, deter, deflect. It's kind of like energy. You know how they say it can't be created or destroyed, it's only transferred. I don't control any of this stuff. I can only do things to supplement it, or I can kind of do things to kind of divert it. So for example, I don't control how much sunlight these plants get, but I have my sunshade above to kind of try to divert some of it at times. It's not controlling any of it because I don't control how much sun comes up on any given day. Some days are cloudy, some days are bright and sunny all day long. I don't control any of that, but I can come in and try to divert some of it. That's all I'm doing. But on the bright and sunny days, more is going to get through. On the cloudy and shady days, less is going to get through, right? I don't control it. I don't try to control it. I can just do something to divert it. When it comes to water, I don't control how much it rains. These plants are outdoors. I can't stop them from getting rain. If it rains, it's going to rain on them, and I cannot stop that. But I can overwater them. I can add water if it doesn't rain. I can supplement. See what I'm saying? I can supplement water, I can add water if it doesn't rain, or if I'm watering them, even when it does rain, I can overwater them. So the only thing I control is to supplement. I don't control exactly how much water they get because I don't control how often and how much it rains when it rains. So let's talk about the things we do control, right? Those are the things that we should focus on, are the things that we control. Our actions, our attitude are the things that we have in our control. So that's where our focus should be, not on the things not in our control. I don't focus on how often it rains or how much it rains, only to the point of me determining whether or not I'm going to water. But I don't focus on it in the essence of, if it doesn't happen, I'm still not going to come out here. No, I don't control that. I just pay attention to it. There's a difference in paying attention to something and actually controlling something. So my plants over here, they're small, right? Because they're from seed. They were planted 2 months ago, just about. And I'm letting them grow just from the seed, letting the nature take care of them. They're getting watered by the rain. They're getting sun by the regular sun. And I don't control how fast they grow. I don't control how long it takes them to grow. I don't control how many of the seeds actually germinated and sprouted. I don't control any of that. I can just take the action of putting the seeds in the ground and making sure they get watered, making sure they get the right amount of sun, that type of stuff. But I don't control how many of them come up, how fast they come up, how long it takes them to mature. I don't control any of that. All of that stuff is controlled by these outside elements. So you got to focus on what's in your control, not worry about the things that are not in your control. Or if the things are not in your control, you have to maybe just pay attention to how you supplement those things or, deter those things from happening. Let's talk about my cloth here. I got my white fabric cloth, my gardening cloth. What am I doing with that? I'm not controlling the bugs, but I am trying to deter the bugs. I'm trying to deter the bugs from my leafy greens, right? That's why I cover my leafy greens. I'm trying to deter the bugs from getting in there. Now, some still get in there, and I have to get in there and watch and make sure and get rid of them. But I don't control any of it. I don't control this stuff. So what is in my control? How I think about it. My attitude about it, right? My attitude is, I can put this on here to deter them. Yes, some may still get in. And if some gets in, it's not going to, ruin my day. I'm just going to take some more action and try to deter them, get rid of them, whatever the case may be. Let's talk about the action I took yesterday. Built this little planter box to go around my little L-shaped post here. As you see, I got this post and I had some dead space, so I built a little box to go around it, filled it with some soil. Now that's another planter box. What action have you taken? What actions are you taking that's going to actually help benefit your family? Or are you just taking actions, or maybe not even taking action at all, but are the actions that you're taking, are they just more so for some nonsense that's not really going to help your family eat or, be productive and successful in this world? What actions are you taking? Are the actions you taking in the right, going in the right direction? Are they in the vein of actually doing something productive and actually providing something for your family? Or is it just actions for the sake of saying you took some action, even though if that action may be wrong or illy informed, let's say? Yeah, there's a lot of ill-informed actions taking place out here. I'm gonna flip the camera around. Yeah, there's a lot of ill-informed actions taking place around here these days. And this is the part of the video where I'm probably gonna hurt some feelings, but that's okay. I'm good with that. Today's Sunday, so, if I hurt your feelings, just go talk to your maker, go talk to your creator and ask them to make you feel better, I guess. Because I don't feel like anything I'm saying is untrue. So if you feel like I'm saying something untrue, feel free to reach out to me. I love the discussion. I love to have the conversation. But talking about control, right? We're talking about the things that we have in control. We're talking about controlling our actions and our attitudes, all that good stuff. And I said there's a lot of ill-informed people out here doing things, trying to control things with ill-informed information. So let's talk about one specific situation that I know is a hot button issue for a lot of people. And y'all may say, you don't have kids, so why do you care, or what business is it of yours? That's because your kids are the future of this world. So I still got to live in this world with your kids, whether I have kids or not. I still have to live in this world with your kids. So let's talk about the big debate that a lot of parents seem to be having off and on in different jurisdictions about the books that are in school libraries. We're not just talking about the books that are in the curriculum for the kids to read. We're talking about the books that are on the shelves of the library. And I have a problem with the parents who want to control what specific books are on the shelves of a library. You know, if you remove those books from the shelf of a library, it doesn't remove that book from existence, right? You know that if you're trying to shelter or censor things from your child, they're going to find out about them probably in the wrong way. And my question is, why are you trying to censor things away from your child? Does your kid even care about that book? A lot of the books that you're banning, a lot of the books that are going on those banned lists, do your kids even think about that book or care about that book? Would your kid have ever picked that book up had you or other parents not given it the attention that you're giving it right now? And then go back and think, have you even read that book? There's a lot of people who are jumping on these bandwagons of let's ban this book, let's ban that book because of some political thing. And they haven't even read the book. They don't even know what the book talks about. They don't know if their kid would ever pick that book off of a shelf in a library store, or I mean a library, a bookstore, or anything like that. But do kids even read books today? I don't even know if kids read books. Are they reading these books? All of the books that the parents are complaining about, do the kids even read these books? Do the kids think about picking these books up? You're spending a lot of time focused on controlling not only what your kid is doing, because you're not worried about focusing on what your kid is doing in this instance. You can very easily keep your kid from reading certain books without all of this hoopla and feeling like you gotta pull the books out of the library. You can very easily keep your kid from reading those books. It's called having a relationship with your kid and knowing what your kid is doing. But if you don't have that relationship with your kid and you don't know what they're doing, have you even read this book to know why you don't want your kid to read the book? Do you understand the point and the morals and the premise, the plot that the book is trying to make? Is the book similar to probably movies that your kid has seen? Why are you doing it? Is it just about political stuff? So you're trying to force your kid to be on a certain side of the political fence? Is that what you're trying to do? You know that's about control, right? That's you trying to control your child. You can't control your child once they become an adult, especially. You can't control them as a child. You don't control their actions or their attitude. Your child's attitude is probably different from yours. Your child's actions are probably different from yours. I 100% guarantee it. But you don't control those things as a child. You definitely don't control them when they become an adult. So whenever they don't even have to be an adult. I mean, your high school kids are getting access, and probably middle school at this point, getting access to whatever they want. The internet has everything. All of these books are online. If they want these books and you're giving these books all of this attention, trying to control other people's children, you're not trying to control your child by saying ban the books. You're trying to control other people. You're trying to control what other people think. You're trying to control other people's children and what other people are allowed to expose their child to. Because let's say these books are not in the library and you don't have a public library in your town. What if a parent does want their kid to get what comes out of that book? Now they don't have access to it if they can't afford it. Why would you take a book out of a library? The book is published. The book is out here. You should want those books in your library because it's a book. That's where books go, in libraries. So you're not making a whole lot of sense, and you're just trying to control something that you don't have any control over. If your kid wants to read that book, they're going to find that book. But the important thing here is, can your kid even read? Most kids are not reading at a 4th grade level. Most of your kids are not reading at a 4th grade level. And you're arguing about the books that they have access to in the library without paying attention to, can they even damn read the book? Most of your kids can't even read these books. All these books you're getting banned, they can't read them. It's not that they would learn something that you don't want them to learn from reading them. They don't even know how to read the damn books because they're not reading at a 4th grade level when they graduate high school. These are national statistics. I'm not making this up. You can look it up yourself. NEA. You can look it up yourself. I think it's NEA. Yeah, look it up yourself. National education thing. You can look it up. All of these statistics are there. They run these, they do the testing and all that stuff every so many years. And when you look at the statistics, they haven't changed in like 30 years. They have not gotten better. They've gotten worse in 30 years. Kids are not reading at a 4th grade level. And you're arguing about what books are in the library because you're trying to control somebody else's kid. You're trying to control the mindset of somebody else. You remember, we are told that back during, slavery times and coming out of that, they didn't want the former slaves to be educated. They didn't want them to have access to books. They didn't want them to learn how to read. Why? Because people know that knowledge is power. So when you're trying to take those books out of the library and you're trying to keep your kid from reading that book, you're trying to keep knowledge away from your kid. You're trying to keep your kid from learning something. Why would you want your kid not to learn something? You're trying to control their mind. And we know it's dangerous whenever people are allowed to have their minds controlled. If your kid grows up having its mind controlled by you all of his life, it's probably going to fall into sex and things like that that continue to have your child's mind controlled, because they never learned how to control their own mind, because you've been trying to control their mind, and then you fill their mind with whatever it is you think. So let's say if you have racist thoughts, if you keep all of the books that say that racism actually is something that's real away from your kid, while at the same time filling your kid with nothing but racist hate, your kid's going to be a racist, all because of your actions and your attitude that you're kind of forcing on the kid and not allowing them to see anything else. So anybody that's talking about taking books out of a school or out of a library, I understand. Again, the curriculum is a totally different thing. What all of the kids are reading as part of an English class or whatever, that's a totally different discussion than whether or not a book exists on a library shelf. Anybody that's trying to take a book out of a library, you are doing a disservice, and you're disingenuous in your rage or hate or whatever it is that you feel about those books. You're disingenuous and you're doing a disservice not only to your child but to every child who is in that, that uses that library, because you're taking their ability to gain knowledge away from them, all because of your attitude about a book that you probably haven't even read yourself. So be sure that whenever you are trying to control things, you focus on the things that you're supposed to be trying to control. We don't control very many things. We control our own actions and our own attitude. Let's make sure we're not projecting that on other people. My attitude about a certain book doesn't mean that anybody else has to feel that way about it. If I decide not to pick up a book, that's an action. If I decide not to take the action to pick up a book, that doesn't mean that anybody else has to not take that same action. Anybody else is welcome to pick up that book. Whatever books you read, those parents who want those certain books banned off of the library list or whatever books you read, parent, I probably don't want to read that book. I mean, there's books that, people read out there that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in Mein Kampf. I'm not interested in some of the manifestos of serial killers. I'm not interested in some of those books. I don't have any interest in reading them. But you might. And who am I to stop you from being able to read that book? See what I'm saying? Anybody that's sitting there trying to take books out of a library or out of a school and take away a child's ability to actually access and read that book, you are disingenuous, and you are part of the dumbing down of America. You are making your child dumber because of your attitude and the actions that you are actually taking to impact your child's school experience in a negative way. So think about what you're doing with your actions, with your attitude. Make sure you're not trying to control things that either, number one, you shouldn't be trying to control, or number two, you don't have control over. I don't have control over these things that happen in the garden. I don't control them. I can only supplement them. I can kind of deflect them. I can kind of assist, but I don't control any of it. You don't control what's happening in your kid's brain. Soon as your kid gets old enough to understand that their parents been keeping things from them, they're going to go out and find them things in a different way, a way that you're probably not going to want to deal with whenever they're on the other side of it. If you don't talk to your kids about sex, then they're going to learn it from their peers, and they may learn it by actually engaging in it and getting pregnant, getting an STD or whatever. If you don't talk to your kids about drugs, they're going to find out about it from their peers. They're going to try it with their peers. They're going to find out whatever understanding it is of that drug with their peers, not with you. So what actions are you taking? What is your attitude about things? Are you trying to control your child? Because the more you try to control your child, the more they rebel against you. I know you all know that. Again, I don't have kids. I don't have to have kids to know these common sense life things. The more you try to control your child, the more they're going to rebel against you. So if you say they can't read the Diary of Anne Frank, that's going to make some of these children want to go find the Diary of Anne Frank and find out, why did my parent want me to read this? There's going to be a group of children who do that. Say, why didn't my parent want me to read this? Okay, I read it. What about it? Oh, so when they come asking you those questions, I say be prepared to answer, because they're going to ask you, why didn't you want me to read this? It talks about the Holocaust and that type of stuff. Talks about Nazism and all of that. Are you trying to say that this stuff didn't happen? Oh, y'all removing that from the history books as well? Are we removing all knowledge of that period of time when we remove the book? You see what I'm saying here? You want to remove the Bible. I mean, again, I don't think you should be removing any of these books. You should have the Bible in there. You should have the Holy Quran in there. You should have all of the different books from all of the different religions. You should be wanting as many books as you can get into your library. You should not be removing books from the shelves. Only books you should remove from the shelves are the ones that are damaged. And you should be looking to replace that. But you shouldn't be looking to remove books from your library shelves. Remove books from your child's ability to read them. That doesn't make any sense. It's disingenuous, and it's you trying to control not only your child, because again, like I said, it's easy for you to control your child that live in your household. It's you trying to control everybody else's child. It's you trying to control the mind of everybody else in that school district. That's exactly what you're doing. How about you get control of your own life? Plant some food, grow a garden, worry about your family. Let the other people worry about their own families. Let their kids read the books that they want their kids to read. Don't take books off the shelf. Don't make you and your kid dumber. This is Iceberg. Salute.